Okay. Ha madasiapi, ante waste nase chuzapi, iyan koshi masiapi, iyan wasaha himataha. Good evening, my friends and relatives. My Lakota name is Comes Running Woman, and I am from the Standing Rock Nation. My English name is Bobbi Jean. I'm from Wakapala. I pretty much grew up my whole life on Standing Rock. Um, Last May, I had just graduated with 2 degrees, my associate degree in criminal justice and my applied associate degree in paralegal lay advocate. I think I'm gonna go back to school this fall and finish my 4-year degree in criminal justice. I think eventually I want to take environmental science, and then maybe sometime in my life I want to go to law school for to become an environmental lawyer. I guess my story started back in 2016 when a relative had called me and she kind of just updated me about the Dakota Access Pipeline, and I didn't even know anything about it then. Um, at that time, I just became a new mother. My daughter was about 2 years old at the time, and it's just so crazy because she just started talking, right, and she was like right before my relative had called me. And this was like every morning. She literally was just like asking for a cup of water. It was like super simple. And after I had that phone call with my relative, it really just uh, kind of struck me as a mom, and it had me sitting there thinking, like, what am I gonna do if I can't give her a cup of water, or if I can't give her a bath, or I can't boil water for us to eat. Um, and then it just kind of the whole environment, the animals, our other relatives, all the human beings, like it just like it will go down the river. Like it will definitely affect like 10 million people's drinking water. And so at the time, when I got that phone call, I was working with the youth in my community. We were having like triangular basketball games. So I was coaching kids from like I would say maybe fourth grade to 12th grade, and we were just like doing drills and practices in our local gym. And then when I had got that phone call, she just kept telling me like we need to do something, and I've never did no kind of activism or anything like that in my life before. So it was like, what do you want me to do? I was really scared and nervous, and um, I didn't know what to do. And so I was working with the kids already. So like in like the next few days after that, we just decided that we would do a walk, run, horse ride. You could drive in your car, and that morning, it was so crazy because it was all the kids that I was working with that showed up, and it was beautiful. And but before I had did that, I had went to our oldest elder that I consider my Lala, my grandpa. Um, I had asked his permission if it was okay that I speak, because usually, it's elders that speak for us. And so I was asking him if it was okay that I speak on behalf of our people and on behalf of our community and on behalf of my family. And he gave me the permission to do so. So that Saturday when the first walk run happened, it was like all the kids showed up, and it was like the kids' parents that were driving behind us, supporting us and everything. Um, and like my cousins, they always ride horseback, so they brought a couple horses, and um, we even had like Kevin Locke there. He was running with us, and but before we had started it, my dad, he's part of Lakeside Singers, and they sing a song for us, the honor song. And before that, our Lala Vernon had said a prayer for us, so it really did start with prayer and a song. Um, and when he was praying, when he was praying for us, it was so crazy. And my dad told me this probably like a week later, but he was like, our Lala, he was speaking to us, and a lot of us like didn't understand what he was saying, but of course we always listen because that's how you learn. And but what he was saying to us in Dakota, he was asking us if we knew, if we understood what we were about to begin, and that he began telling us that water has its own being and its own spirit, and that wherever we go after that, that spirit is gonna follow us wherever we go. And it was so crazy because I didn't think how impactful that just his little speech was until my dad translated it to me in English, and so it really means a lot to me that he was able to say that. And then so then after that, then Sacred Stone Camp had opened up on April 1st, and the anniversary is coming up here pretty soon, in about a week or 2 weeks. Oh no, in April. Oh, but after that, and then we had decided to do the run to Omaha to the regional Army Corps of Engineers headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska. But this time we were a lot more organized, and this is where I started learning how to do organizing. And all this is like my first time ever doing any kind of activism, so it was all new to me. Everything that I was experiencing was very new to me. And this second run though, it has to been the most impactful, like little 7-day run experience I've ever had in my whole life. And it was really grassroots. Like we really weren't getting from one community to the other. It was without like the community's help. It was literally people giving us like $10-$20 for gas, and we would like throw it all in, and we were literally making it to the next town. And people of the different communities throughout Ochaki were feeding us, or they were letting us stay in their churches, their gymnasiums. It was like super beautiful. And there was like really, like, I can't even like explain it every time I talk about it, but there was like moments in those runs where it was like showing through the nature, like the animals. It I can't even explain it. It was so weird and so awesome because it really made me believe in our Lakota ways, and to experience it physically and see it physically just meant so much more. And it was like, wow, like, you know, this is really real. And so um along the whole way down to Omaha, we were just like meeting relatives throughout Ochaki. And one thing that always stuck with me is that, you know, even though we're like all spread out now throughout South Dakota and Omaha, I mean in Nebraska and all that, like all of us are still going through the same stuff, like on our own places, reservations, or whatever people want to call them, or our homes. And um was even more crazier was that when we were going throughout these towns, it was all the kids that were coming out. It was a lot of young women. I would have to say between like maybe like 12 to 18, and sometimes even younger. I remember there was like some really young girls there. They were probably have to been about 7 or 8, super young. And on that second run, it was the runners that had gone the whole way. Some of them just like jumped in from their towns. Like we had like a couple of them here from Eagle Butte, literally no clothes or anything. They jumped in because like the calling in their heart is like they brought it. They basically like came to us and we came to them, and we just clicked and we made it happen. There was only like altogether there was like 12 of us that had made it down to Omaha, but there was a lot of people in the background that were helping organizing when we were making it to each location. And then on our way down there, Colonel Henderson was doing a public forum up on our reservation at the Grand River Casino, And one of our relatives, because that's when the public got to voice their opinions. So one of our relatives told them like straight up, like, hey, like these kids are all running down to Omaha right now, and you're up here, and we were running down to give him a petition. And when we got down there, by the time we got down there, and we like had the whole rally around like the building, and we like did our little speeches, and we rallied, and we presented that petition. And here in the end, it wasn't even Colonel Henderson, it was someone totally different. So we felt like our message didn't really get across, because like we were trying to get into his heart and mind, because he's the one that was making the decisions for our regional, for the projects or whatever. And it was a little bit disheartening and a little bit discouraging, just to know that he didn't meet us, halfway, or meet us really face to face. And that didn't, if anything, that gave us more courage. After we were done with the Omaha run, we were joking about going out to DC, like, because we come from reservations. A lot of us lived in poverty. All of us are really just trying to make it out. Like, even if you just stay at home, still, just trying to work your way up that ladder or whatever, out of like everything that goes on in our own personal lives and stuff. And so going out to DC, sometimes that's like people's dreams, to be able to travel and just like go someplace like off the reservation. Like, some of these kids haven't even left the reservation, let alone like just South Dakota, or like, living in the Midwest. So we're like in South Dakota and North Dakota. Like, those are our main places that we travel. So it was like the first time for a lot of these kids to go outside the state, and we made it happen. We at first we were joking around, and we were like, hey, let's just take this out to DC. This is where all these guys are the ones that make all the decisions, right? Let's go to the White House. And so it was a joke at first, and then our one of like our mentors in the beginning, her name was Bobbi Jean, and if it wasn't for her always just just encouraging us. And she was like our age too at the time. She was like in her early 20s. I think I was like 23 or 24 when this was all happening. And I think if it wasn't for her just being really positive and encouraging, and just telling us, we can do this, you guys are able and capable of doing that. And if it wasn't for her words, like, I'm sure we wouldn't even have tried. And sure enough, like, the DC trip was probably the most like organized like part event I've ever led. And it was scary because I was taking care of like almost 40 people, and I've never did that in my life. And just a lot of responsibility, and everything that goes behind organizing and leading. And it was scary, and it was new, and it was my first time even traveling that far away from home as well. And so like when we along the way, like, so on the Omaha run, like how we were going to each community or some place that was hosting us, that's how we organized it all the way out to DC too. So we met a lot of people, and that's when we started doing Facebook Live. And we never knew about we knew about Facebook Live, but I guess we never really like used it before. So we started doing lives, and then people just started watching us along our journey, and it was so cool. It was so awesome to see. Like, I remember this kid, his name's William Brownotter, and it's so funny because he came to run with us, right? But he didn't know what he was running for. And his sister was the one that made him go, and she was just like, you just need to run. And by the end of all those runs, I just watched not just him, but all these kids like just blossom into their wholeness, and just watching them find their voice and just standing up and they all have their own stories too, and it was just so inspiring to be able to witness that. And even till today, it's like super inspiring because like some of these kids, they're like presidents of their youth councils, and they're the ones starting to lead DAPL now and stuff. And it's really super inspiring to grow up and watch them go into that position and stuff. And now they know that they are capable of anything that they want to do, and that like goes for everybody. Like even like all of us guys here today, like this was meant to be. We're meant to be here and have this space and time together. I'm like really thankful for you ladies for reaching out and stuff. And yeah, so that was our journey. And when we got to DC, it was like a culture shock because we're not used to big buildings. Like we have open land and lots of prairie and everything. So when we got out to DC, it was a culture shock to be in a place that has millions of people and huge tall buildings, and everything's just busy all the time. And but we made it, and we rallied outside the headquarters. Like this is the headquarters of the whole United States, the Army Corps of Engineers, the main place where everything like goes down. And we rallied out there for about 3 or 4 hours, and then we had went to the White House after that, and we rallied out there for about 5 or 6 hours, and we were just doing our chants. And we were at that time we were trying to call out Obama. And on the way out there, we was trying to get a meeting with Obama and his administration, because there were a few of the kids, a few of the runners that had went with us to DC that actually had a sit down with Obama and Michelle, and he had like some of our Standing Rock kids for the day. He took them out for pizza. He got to hear their opinions about life on the reservation, like what do they need help with. He sat down and had the whole day with them. So we was trying to get a meeting with him, and they denied us. And then we ended up scoring a meeting with some of the officials of the Army Corps, but I don't think it was the most important people that we should have been talking to. I think they just kind of sent a little crew down to hear us out. But we did take that meeting very seriously. And in that meeting, all the runners went in, right? No adults. We didn't let no adults go in there with us. It was just all the runners, all the youth. And our youngest speaker at the time, she was probably about 6 or 7 years old. And I swear, you guys, she like sounded like a really wise old grandma, like just like speaking. And it was so I she like took everyone's breath away how much she understood. And it was like in that moment in time, it was like, yeah, you really need to listen to these kids. Like you really need to pay attention to what they're saying. And just stuff like that. Like there was like a few of them, or the two ladies that were there, by the end they were like crying and everything, just from hearing our what we have to say or whatever. And each kid, we made sure that each kid got to say something, so everybody in that whole room got to say however they felt. And that was really awesome. And then after that, it kind of wasn't in our plan, but we ended up making it up to New York City, and we rallied around Square Union for about a few hours. And when we got to New York City, it was even a more big culture shock, because it was like buildings right beside each other, and like there's so many people in one area, all the lights. And at Square Union, like you just kind of see that stuff on movies, right? You see the people playing chess in the park. And yeah, and it was so it was so crazy. I just can't get over it sometimes. It feels like a dream. It feels fake. And then after we were done in New York, then we had started our journey back home. And then by the time we got back home, so this altogether, it was about a 28-day trip. We're almost gone for like a whole month from home. And so when we get back, right, and then we come up to Ocheti Shakoli, and there's people all over the van. You guys, like, we left and there was nobody there. There was nobody camped out there or anything yet. I don't think. I think everyone was still at Secret Stone Camp. And then so like when we came over the hill, right, like just hundreds of people already just camped out, and it was like so freaking beautiful and unreal, and like bringing all these people out here to stand up with us, you know. It was like it was so surreal. And then like over the weeks it just grew and grew, and it was like turning into this little city. And um it was like it was it felt like we were living in our ancestors' dreams, to be honest. It felt like there was hundreds of tribes there from all over the world. I even met this medicine man. He was from overseas, and he was dressed in all white. He was African American, and he said he had this dream or vision that he had to come over to Standing Rock. So his people of his little tribe or whatever, they fundraised for him to come all the way over there. And he experienced it, and he was living his vision and everything, and it was so beautiful. And I remember just taking time to like walk throughout camp and just soaking it all in. And I remember sitting there, and it was like this most beautiful night, right? Like the stars were out, the moon was out. We were just like in the middle of camp. Everybody's like in their camps by their fires, and it made me think and feel like, man, like this is what they felt like a long time ago. Like this is how peaceful it is. Like this is what unity feels like. And it was just, I'm never gonna forget it. Can never live that one down ever. And I'm so thankful for all the thousands of people, like millions of people worldwide, for all their support. Because we wouldn't have did it without everyone's collective thought and prayer, and that's what mattered the most. And if anything, I hope you guys, what you can take away from us meeting tonight is just I hope you guys know that you are really capable of doing anything that you put your mind to, and it is not impossible. Anything that you think of that you want to do or you want to become when you're older, you can do that, and it is possible. And I know how hard reservation life is, and everything. I have experienced pretty much everything that you can think of, and I used to let that hold me back too when I was younger. But I think doing this work, I was telling these ladies, you know, I really found my voice in this. And before all of this, I was really shy and quiet. I was really reserved person. You would never catch me speaking in front of a crowd or being on a Zoom with a lot of people. um, and I really found my power in that. And I just hope to continue to inspire, and I hope I can see all you guys do everything that you guys want to do too. And yeah, just like, you know, seeing the kids, some of those kids were like in middle school and now they're like graduating high school. I have probably a few of the runners that are all seniors now, and it's so crazy to watch them grow into their own person, and just become so strong. And I'm just so freaking proud of them. And um, this year it's gonna be the 5 year anniversary on the first, and this weekend I'm actually going back out to D.C. with these kids, and we're gonna go rally again, and we're gonna try to get this pipeline shut down for everybody, and we're gonna try to do it, guys.
That's awesome, Bobbi Jean. Thanks for sharing, going through all of that in your story. I wonder if you could share a little bit about the fear that you mentioned, the fear of like, I don't know if I'm the right person. I don't know if I am, like, I don't know how to do this. Could you share a little bit about how you overcame that fear?
I think I overcame it because I knew that I had I you know, so like growing up, right, we don't have a lot of resources in our communities, but the talent is there, definitely there. I just totally know that. And I think I think it was just kind of a mutual feeling of when we started doing like these basketball triangulars. That was like a first for the youth at the time, and for myself becoming an adult, because you want to do stuff, right? You want to give back to the community, and you just like, you want to do stuff together. And I think that fear, knowing that they had my back, that's exactly what it was. And um it was literally like, okay, so when it was the first day, we were gonna start running to Omaha, and it stuck exactly like this. The guy picked me up, and I literally went over to my neighbor's house and I knocked on her window. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, hey, I was like, Heather, I was like, can you drive for me? She's like, drive for you? She's like, where? I was like, to Omaha. She's like, yeah, sure. And she like had a towel on her head. She just got out of the shower, and she was like, okay, we're going to Omaha. And then so this guy and his dad picked us up, right? Because we don't have a vehicle. And on the way up to camp, I'm sitting in the back, and I'm like, excuse my language, but I'm like, holy ass, what did I get myself into? And I'm like sitting there, like just like scared, and like my heart's all racing. I'm like, what am I doing? And then um Jonathan, he just straight up said, he was like, you know what, Bobbi? He was like, if me and you are the only ones that run all the way down to Omaha, he said, I'm gonna run with you. And I was like, damn, all right. So let's do this then. And it was literally stuff like that. And I think those people's energy and that goodness that they were sharing with me, I think it just kind of bounced off all the other runners. And then we all just had like this mutual like feeling of, we want to do this, and we want to stand up. And I think the fear, how I got my fear to go down, was basically from like all the generational trauma, right? And because we're still experiencing that. Like people really think this stuff happened like hundreds of years ago. No, it really didn't. Like my dad and my grandma, like firsthand, like this stuff really didn't happen that long ago. So my fear, how I got it down, was just like, no more. The government does not get to do this to us anymore, and that's enough. And it was basically like that, how I overcame that fear. And I knew there was gonna be people that didn't agree with the message or even be in support of us, but you have to remember, for a person that don't believe in you, there's probably about 5 others that will, and that's what matters the most. And try to keep your focus on that positivity and stuff. And I think it was just that helped me like get over my fears and everything.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's really powerful. You also mentioned some setbacks that you had, and I'm also curious how you kept kind of your group motivated despite some of the setbacks or some of the, like, Omaha didn't work out how you wanted it to, and like what kept people motivated to go to DC.
Um, I think it was like the same thing, like this is enough. And I think, well, like how I thought it out was like, they probably didn't think that we could ever go out there either. I think the people that are making the decisions for us on these projects didn't think that was possible, or that we would even show up like that. So I think that was really powerful that we made it happen. And I think it's even more powerful that people believed in the message and believed in us to be able to do that. And like collectively, all of us together, we made it happen. And yeah, that was really awesome.
Yeah, I'll ask one more, and then I'd love to hear from other people if they have any questions. But I also wonder, like, what if I don't know my passion? How do I, if I'm a young person, how do I find my passion for something? What advice would you give maybe people in this Zoom room, how to find their passion and make a difference?
Find a passion and make a difference. Well, remember, like, we really don't know something until we try it, right? And I think that's exactly what it was. And I was like, how would I know if I'm successful at this if I didn't at least try one time? And look, that one time, like I would have never thought I'd be in this whole activism life. Like I didn't, that wasn't a part of my plan at all. Like that wasn't even in existence in my mind or anything. So I think, really just at least give something a try. And, if you don't like it, then, you don't have to keep doing it or anything, but at least find something that you love, because like now that I'm in this work, it doesn't feel like a job. I really like what I do for a living right now. And I've making my way up that ladder very slowly but surely. And I'm trying to like, break the generational cycles and stuff, and the trauma too, and everything. And I think when you find something that you're really passionate about, then it's really fun to be in that work and everything.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question for Bobbi Jean? You can either unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat.
Nice meeting you, Lily.
Bye, Lily. All right. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I would love to do kind of a. You have to go, Caroline. Oh.
I have a question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Sorry, I did not see you.
So it's like oh, sorry, crying. You're amazing, Bobbi Jean. Thank you for sharing your story. How do you? I want to like make a difference in my community, but I'm not sure how to like. I know social media is like a really strong way to connect to people, but with the pandemic and thing, I feel like people don't need more social media. So what's a way that you kind of like got people together? Like, did you tell people to spread the word, or how did you get the message out to so many people?
So like on the very, very first run, so my community is really small, right? It's probably like way smaller than Pine Ridge, or it's probably smaller than a block in the city. Like I literally have probably like 4 streets to just kind of go up on. So I literally went to like each house and I printed out these flyers, and it was their choice or not to, if they wanted to come and support. I wasn't gonna just hound them or anything. But I went, well, but this was before COVID, okay? And so I went to each house and I handed my community members a flyer, and I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this walk run in support of of our water, and we don't want this pipeline here on our homeland or anything. So I just started out like that, and I literally just like, I probably have maybe like 40 or 50 houses down in my community. So I went to like each house and I handed out a flyer, and I just posted some up in so we have to like go to a border town for like our food, gas, everything. We have to like go over the river. And so like I hung them up at stores. If they, well, of course I asked permission, if I could hang them up on their bulletin boards and stuff. And I was just like passing them out to people. And but this was like before COVID. Now I think it's things like this, like Zoom now, that I've been really participating in. And it's so crazy how you can like be on Zoom and everybody's like everywhere, right? And I've been learning that's very helpful right now, is having Zooms, and you can have like webinars. You can do a lot of stuff on like social media too. What else? So I'm in this project right now where we're trying to get like 10 skateboards to some kids in my community. Stuff like that. Like, okay, so remember skateboarding, you're like by yourself, right? You ride by yourself. And like the whole thing was like, so this is social distancing, but we still want kids to have fun, because a lot of you kids are going through it because we're not used to having to stay at home all the time. we're not used to having to stay away from each other or even like giving hugs, you know. We're not used to that. This is all new for everyone. And um it does stuff, you know, to your mental, to the physical, and to the spiritual. And so just like projects like that, I think I'm learning like COVID, and the social distancing, but still trying to give back to the community and be a part and um, you know, just I don't know, just trying to come in a positive way, I guess.
Other questions, Caroline? Mary's got one, looks like.
We were just now talking, but like Bobbi Jean, we would like to extend an invitation to do maybe a collaboration with our youth group and your youth group. Seems like you guys run a lot, and one of our social justice projects for our group is bringing awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women. So, you know, we would like to do more talk with it, maybe have a Zoom with your kids and my kids.
Awesome.
And then also I wanted to thank you for, it's pretty amazing to hear what you went through. I mean, like, you know, how you got started with just that thought of your daughter. I know, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the Keystone XL pipeline. In 2008, I had the opportunity of going with my uncle to one of the protests against the Keystone pipeline. And I didn't know too much about it. I didn't know that it potentially had that impact to destroy our resource, one of our medicine, basically. And that was my thought. At the time, I only had a niece, or I had a little niece. She was 2 years old. And that was my thought. Like, I don't want my niece to be fighting for water, or I don't want my little cousins, you know? So I just want to tell you that I'm really honored that we are able to sit here in this Zoom meeting, and I'm inspired, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo that, Bobbi Jean. I definitely was getting goosebumps during a lot of what you were sharing. It just really resonated with me and being able to hear your story. But I would love to kind of hear from some of the other youth in the room of maybe what you took away from Bobbi Jean's story, just being able to share. Maybe one more question, I guess, for you, Bobbi Jean, of like, how can youth continue some of the work that you're doing, either in their own communities or support you in any way? How can youth get involved?
It can really just be simple things like so like today I don't know, or no, it's coming up. World Water Day is coming up, and I haven't gone to the water in a really long time by our river, and today I was by there. I had to do like a little video for my work or whatever, and it was just, I love being down there. It's so healing and everything. Um, I think probably the way I first you're gonna have to like get together, right? And then you're gonna have to like throw down some ideas. You're gonna have to throw down some ideas, and then once everyone at least has like their idea, then you guys can come to a plan, and then pretty much execute that plan. And literally, you guys can do anything that you want. Of course, you have to be like COVID and social distancing safe now. Um, there's lots of ideas that you guys can be doing. It's so cool. Uh, Man, I would sometimes I wish sometimes I wish I like kind of would have heard this um from older people when I was growing up. I think that's kind of what it is too. So this is like new for me as well. And